Welcome to Sports Dump, Lewis County's only sports podcast, sponsored by Elam's Home Furnishings and Mattress Gallery, Global Septic, and AmeriCool Heating and Cooling. I'm Aaron Van Tile, joined tonight by Chronicle sports editor Alec Dietz, and Chronicle sports reporter Josh Kirschenbaum is on the phone. And fellas, on location in where? Do you want to talk about where you are?
I'm in Mountain View, California, baby.
Oh, I bet it's
back home.
Can you see a mountain from where you are?
I actually cannot.
Can you see a river?
No. I can see my backyard.
Well, that's a start.
Accurate view.
Fellas, we're in the start game now. What is it the start of?
Bowling.
Season?
Bowling season?
Bowling season.
Thank God it's here.
And wrestling.
Bowling rolling in hot. Wrestling coming in hot. Basketball also here. My favorite season.
Is it?
It was always my favorite. That's kind of how I got my start in sports, was covering basketball. So yeah, a little bit.
Nice.
I have fond memories of basketball. But first, football season has concluded, and in the 2B playoffs, Napavine beats Okanagan 41-27 to claim the state 2B championship. Any initial thoughts, or shall I read the recap?
You can do the recap first.
Wow, so subtle about things.
We'll have thoughts. I just, for flow's
Do you
sake,
remember it, Alec? It was so long ago.
It honestly, it feels like 3 weeks ago with basketball starting, but I will do my best to remember.
All right, Napavine went 3 and out on its first possession. That's bad. Then fumbled on the first play of its second possession, also bad. And Okanagan scored on both of its first 2 drives and led 14-0. Napavine rallied back to tie it, but Okanagan scored again with 6 seconds left in the first half and led 21-14, and it was doom and gloom at halftime for the Tigers. But the game swung in about a 5-minute span in the third. Napavine recovered a couple squib kicks and scored off them, and then added a 76-yard Carson Denault punt return touchdown. Napavine outscored Okanagan 27-6 in the second half. Ran away with this one. Final stats, quarterback Ashton Demarest was 10 of 24 passing for 189 yards and 2 touchdowns. Cale Stanley ran 8 times for 42 yards and a touchdown. Demarest ran 14 times for 75 yards and a touchdown. And Max O'Neill ran 4 times for 52 yards and a touchdown. Through the air, Colin Shields had 2 catches for 57 yards and a score. Denault had 3 catches for 82 yards and a score. And James Gross had 3 catches for 41 yards. This is the third 11-man football title for Napavine, the first since 2016, the third under head coach Josh Fay, who I think 2007 was his first year. Pretty sure.
08 maybe?
08 was their first title.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure that was his second year.
Really?
Yeah.
You won that quickly?
Won that quickly, yeah.
Crazy.
I think 2006, him and Wilson were both assistants on Adna, and then they took over Napavine, and so
the rest is history.
The rest is history. The 6th straight championship for the Central 2B League. And we got to ask, is the C2BL bad for 2B football? Does it have its own network yet?
It should.
We are the network. We've already joked. We're basically like the Paul Feinbaum of the C2B.
Yeah, that's fair, actually. That's pretty good.
I will say, and we got the feeling for this looking at the scores coming in from, the Ani game and the PWG game. Okanagan, very clearly the second best team in the state of Washington this year. Like, no mirage about that. They proved that 100% in this game. Yeah. Like, we thought it would be close, and it was close, but this wasn't like last year where, everybody here was talking about Kalama and Napavine, and everybody on the east side was like, but Okanagan too. And then they got hammered by 30 points in the semifinals. Like, this was a good game between very clearly the top 2 teams in the state.
Yeah, I agree. It certainly looks like that. And a fun game to watch too. It looks like Napavine really swung it in the second half there, and it got pretty exciting, especially in the third quarter.
Just way better than last year's game. Like Josh and I were even when we watched the first 2 touchdowns from Okanagan and Napavine was down, we were like, this game is already better than last year's game. And it's been completely one-sided, like way more action, just less sloppy. I don't know, maybe the teams kind of feeling each other out a little bit kind of helped. Like obviously Kalama and Napavine knew each other really well. They hadn't played up to that point in the season, but they knew exactly what they wanted to do. The coaching staffs knew them. So where this one, I mean, obviously Napavine and Okanagan are familiar with each other, but they hadn't had that history of really playing each other.
Yeah, not recently anyway.
Other than kind of last year's game, but it felt like there was kind of a feeling out period. And once Napavine kind of settled in, they started to move the ball pretty much at will and made some adjustments on defense to slow down the run game, because that was really the key for them. In the first half, I think Okanagan's running back Johnny Swartzel got pretty much whatever. He ran for like 120 yards in the first half. They
scored on their first play.
He did a 63-yarder, and there were a couple times where they were facing like 3rd and 15, and they just ran a dive up the middle, and he got it.
Pretty impressive.
So once they kind of made some adjustments, I think they moved their defensive line alignments, moved Mario Lara outside, and settled in a little bit. It felt like they kind of controlled the game. Yeah, go ahead.
I was also going to say, and they made the adjustments on offense too. Like we were talking sort of beforehand as to what type of offense Napavine was going to run. And I think you saw in that first quarter, they tried running it up the middle, and Okanagan was winning up front. And they were, even if they weren't pushing into the backfield, they just had those big bodies that were kind of clogging things up and keeping Cal Stanley from running straight. And Demarest even from pulling the ball and running up the middle. So you saw Napavine really start to go to the edge a little bit more, and that paid off too.
Yeah. The Max O'Neill sweep runs, they scored on one and also got a bunch of yards on other ones. So, and then
even the Cal Stanley one, they faked the sweep and then gave it to him, and that came after they swept it a couple times, and then they used that motion to pull the backers to the outside, which gave them a little bit more room.
All right, who's your guys' game MVP? Each of you. You got one trophy to give out. One trophy only.
Man, that's tough to answer because I think it really was a team, like a complete team. I mean, it sounds cringy to say that and like coach speak, but like,
there it is. Yeah,
always. They don't win without Connor Holmes kicking 2 perfect squibs.
Yeah, I want to give it to Connor Holmes.
Yeah, Josh is going to give it to the special teams, but Carson Denault came up with a bunch of good catches. Obviously, Ashton Demarest is the head of the snake, and they're definitely not winning this game without him and what he does. I think Cale Stanley had a great game. He had the game sealing pick. I think he picked up the game sealing first down and also just was a menace on defense. I don't know. I know Josh can talk up Connor Holmes first while I decide.
I wrote afterwards about the special teams in general in that third quarter. It was kind of interesting talking to Connor Holmes because, they were trying to squib it. I don't know why more teams don't do this. You've got 2 guys at the back of the kick return unit who are like very good at catching kicks and running, and then 9 guys in front of them that are in there to block, and like maybe just kick it hard right at one of the 9 guys that aren't in there to catch the ball and see what happens. And he did that twice, and it banged off of them both times. And they recovered and turned both of them into points. Like they weren't onside kicks; they were very much like downfield. The first one, I think, got past the first Okanagan line and kind of rolled right at the second, and it like hit a guy in the foot and bounced off. And then the second one, he just drilled it straight into the guy straight in front of him. And they recovered both of them, and those completely swung the game. And then combine that with, I think my player of the game has to be Denault, just combining his play at wide receiver with, he had that punt return in between the 2 squib kicks. Just his second big game in a row in terms of just scoring and being explosive. I think he's probably my MVP.
Yeah. I think if I had to pick someone, I'd maybe take the easy way out and go Demarest. Just one, not committing any turnovers. He didn't fumble the ball. He didn't throw any picks. He didn't give any free possessions over to Okanagan. And even though his runs up the gut weren't working in the first half, once he took those draws and kind of went outside, I think he led Napavine in rushing with 75 yards. So it wasn't his most efficient night. Again, against kind of better teams, they were, he was trying to test it deep, and they were just missing on a couple of them, or they were in coverage or what have you. But he controlled the offense the entire night. It felt like he was in command, and yeah, I think he was a big reason why the offense kind of got back into their groove and also had the confidence to, come back after being down. I mean, Napavine hasn't been down by more than a touchdown all year long, and that they weren't down. The first time they were trailing all season was against Liberty 2 weeks ago. And they came back and scored 55 unanswered or whatever. So I think after Cale Stanley was the one that fumbled and gave Okanagan that extra possession, Cale said Ashton walked up to him and said, just, brush it off. We're going to come back, So being the leader of that offense and stepping up, last year he was the sophomore and there were other leaders on that offense. He's really stepped up at the quarterback spot.
One last thing on this game. Napavine's, they're relatively young, aren't they?
Demers is a junior. Cale Stanley's a junior.
Shields and Denalter both sophomores, I want to say.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gross is a junior. So they return pretty much every single one of their skill position players, and I think they lose Deacon Parker on the line, and he's a great player. And they lose another kid on the line too. I don't remember, but they get Jack Nelson back, who's big, and they're. And Josh Fay told me he's not leaving until his son graduates, and I don't even think his son's in high school yet. So
they got a few more years. All right.
I don't think they're. This is a hot take, but I don't think they're going away anytime soon.
Well, unless they go to 1A,
they're not going the way of the LA Rams.
I don't think so. I would be surprised.
It certainly doesn't look like it.
I think Kalamit's going to not to. Go away from talking about Napavine and their championship. But I do think Kalama is going to be a lot better next year. I think Ani has a chance to be a lot better next year. I think the Central 2B is going to be a lot better than it was this year.
Mm-hmm. It's not going to be a down year for the Central 2B, how this one ended.
Right, exactly. Well, and they had two teams in the state semis, again,
exactly.
Like that's considered a down year, but I do think on the whole, the conference will be much deeper than it was this year, so that could make some things interesting. But
okay, this podcast is brought to you by Goebel Septic, which provides septic service and portable sanitation for Thurston, Lewis, Mason, Cowlitz, and Grays Harbor counties. Septic pumping, inspection, and riser installation, commercial septic pumping, grease trap services. They will, of course, rent you a porta potty as well as a sink. You can just throw them out in your yard. Maybe move them inside if you got a big enough house. Who knows? I don't know how you live. Visit GoebelSeptic.com or give them a call at 360-736-2167. Let's get a quick wrap-up of the rest of the state title games. In the 4As, Lake Stevens beat Kennedy Catholic 24-22. The 3As, Little Yelm. Were you guys at this game?
Josh was, yeah.
I was at this game.
Cool.
This game was insane. Well, at least it ended. It was 4 quarters of kind of not great, boring football. Defensive struggle, and then the best ending I've ever seen.
Was that the Ronquillo touchdown?
Yep.
Sweet. Let's see. Yeah, Yelm beat Eastside Catholic 20-13.
Tough day for Catholic schools. Gotta feel so bad for them.
Eastside Catholic loses to little old number 1 Yelm.
Little old Yelm.
Kennedy Catholic lost too to little old Lake Stevens.
Was Yelm the biggest underdog a top seed's ever been in this game?
Probably not.
I don't know.
I don't know if they were actually underdogs. I think people expected it to be close. I just thought Eastside Catholic would win because they normally do.
Yeah.
But I didn't think it would be like a blowout or something.
Just the fact that, it definitely felt like people were thinking of it as an upset there when they were the number 1 team in the state in the tournament.
Well, the seating committee got it right anyway. In the 2As, Linden beat North Kitsap. That was a 1-3 matchup, 31-24. Number 1 Royal beat Mount Baker 35-20 for its 6th title in 7 years.
Talk about a team being bad for the rankings or for the sport.
The one championship they didn't win, I think, was Connell.
COVID. Oh, no, yeah, there was the one right before that
I actually covered that game for the Chewelah Independent.
Wow.
It was they had a good team. Connell was good.
Yeah.
In the 2Bs, Napavine, of course, beat Okanagan. Napavine scored the most points of any 11-man team on Saturday and is therefore clearly the best overall team in the state. Liberty Bell blew out Nia Bay 50-12, and now Mossy Rock can give themselves a little pat on the back and feel good about itself. Liberty Bell was the 5 seed. They beat Mossy Rock, the 4 seed, in Mossy Rock's first game in the state only game in the state playoffs. And then, good, surprising run for them. What was the committee thinking? So 4 number 1s won titles, 1 number 2, and 1 number 5. Who was the number 2 that won? Lake Stevens?
Lake Stevens.
Okay. Yeah. So, committees, they did fine. This podcast is also brought to you by Elam's Home Furnishings and Mattress Gallery?
Question mark?
Sorry, the page is taking a little bit to load. They will hook you up for everything you need to decorate your living room, your bedroom, your dining room, your entertainment center. Little accents. You get some throw pillows. Alec, when you go to your big secret screening, you going to take a throw pillow with you?
I should.
You should.
I think it's a long movie, so
yeah, you might.
might want to lay back.
Just need to, prop a pillow up, take a little
support
little
my
nap
back
between the second and third acts. Yeah.
You gonna bring some booze in?
Oh, no. Come on. I got to drive home. It is a 3-hour movie, I guess, so I could sneak a drink in at the beginning.
Yeah, you can't have anything taint your experience with the new Chazelle film.
No.
Anyway, Elam's Home Furnishings and Mattress Gallery, 1530 South Gold Street in Centralia. You can call them at 360-807-1211 or peruse their wares online at elamshf, elamshf.com. And now, fellas, we got to talk basketball a little bit.
Do we have to? No, I'm joking. I love basketball.
We are just going to run through each league real quick and get a favorite and maybe a wild take from each of you guys.
Wild?
A wild take.
All right.
We'll start on the boys' side. We'll go boys, then girls. The 2A Evergreen Conference, who's the favorite?
Tumwater.
I saw Luke Brewer scored 34 the other night.
Yeah.
Something like that. He just broke their all-time 3-point record.
Pretty good.
And then went out the next game, had a bad night shooting, scored like 4 points, and they still won by 30 or something because they have other guys too.
Do you guys have a hot take for this league? I have one. We've discussed already.
It's not even a hot take.
I think WFOS is going to make regionals.
It's not a hot take.
Yeah, it's not a hot take.
All right.
They made it last year. What? Like
Soren Dalen's going to be all state. That also not that hot.
Well, they need to make state. Are they going to make it past regionals?
I don't know.
Because you need to make the state tournament to be all state.
I saw a video of his dunk. It was pretty cool.
He's a cool dude.
Yeah.
I like Soren Dalen.
I have not watched them yet. Do they have a crack at least taking a game from Tumwater?
They won one last year. I think with the talent WF West has, they have a shot in pretty much any game they play. It's just the key for them is how quickly can they kind of piece together all the new pieces around Dalen, because at some point they're going to go up against a team that has someone that can actually match his size.
Will they though?
Yes.
I don't know. He's really big.
Tumwater did it. Because they have Ryan on.
Did it.
Yeah. Not many people have Ryan on.
Schools that have big teams. I mean, Kelso did it last year at Payton Stewart. Once you get to like either the bigger schools or the best of the best, people have big guys. Even
if you have like a guy who's maybe not like nearly a 7-footer, if he's like 6'7", 6'8", and just physical, that's enough. That could bother him, especially when you're throwing multiple bodies at him. So
true.
Really, it's about, does Gage Brownfield step up this year? You know, he's a sophomore. He started last year, and his role was kind of to just be a defensive stopper. And now it's like, okay, Dirk Plackinger's gone. That's 19, 18 points a game. You know, we're going to need you to score a bit more. Braden Jones is now starting for them. Weston Potter. It's a really young team around Dalen. So it'll just kind of depend on how quickly they can kind of gel together and find all that missing scoring from Plackinger graduating.
Yeah, my other hot takes, I guess. First of all, Black Hills, Simon Trujillo Neisted might be the best scorer in the area.
Luke Brewer exists, but okay.
He scored more than him so far.
Let those two go one-on-one. I'm taking Brewer 10 times out of 10.
You might, but I'm just talking in terms of how many points guys are going to score in this season. He's dropping 30 a game. When he's on, he's on.
Oh yeah, he really showed those Bobcats of Aberdeen.
Alex just hates people. I don't know why, but
is the Evco top heavy this year? I feel like there's like two teams at the top, and then maybe Black
100%.
Hills.
And I'm also not sure how well they're going to finish. I mean, looking south,
they'll finish third in the Evco.
Yeah,
but I'm not sure about where they stack up against the GSHL.
that's the other thing. Mark Morris is looking really good so far. And for if you want to play nobody or playing small schools, Woodland just beat Kalama by like 70. They're basically the Adna of the 2As. They just have like 4 or 5 guys that are going to huck up threes, and when they hit them, they're dangerous. And they're all back from a okay team last year. So yeah, I don't know what the balance is going to look like.
All right, the 1As. How's Tenino?
The boys,
new coach.
Ryan Robertson's back. He played there, so kind of a cool story to see him come back and lead his alma mater after he was at WFS for a long time. How long was he there for? I wrote the story a while ago.
10-ish years?
He was there 15? For a while, and then he took a break. He reffed some games and came back for the Tenino job. And, they run that kind of like weird matchup. Not a weird, but they run like matchup zone type defense. So they're breaking in some new stuff. And they bring back everyone. Joe Cheerhart, their old coach, had all those guys starting pretty much as 8th graders. So now they're in their like 3rd year and they're sophomores.
Yeah.
Noah Scow dropped 29 points in their first game, and then in their second game promptly faced a box and one defense.
It's a little early in the year to bust out
so early to do that. Also, I mean, Noah Scow's a great player. I'm not sure he's like box and one great player yet.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. And he still dropped 12 points and 14 rebounds in the next game. So he's been good for them. And Jack Burkhart is a big body they have. So, and also, I don't think their league is all that strong this year. Edenville won it last year, basically on the backs of 2 football players, who are good just because they're 6'7", 6'8", and playing, committed to play football at Boise State next year.
Yeah.
So I think they could maybe make some noise. They're undefeated right now, and again, it'll just be about how quickly they can kind of buy into what Robertson's, trying to sell them in year 1.
All right. The C2BL. Who's the favorite, and why is it Morton Whitepass?
It's Morton Whitepass.
It's Morton Whitepass.
It's not close.
Oh, all
yeah,
right.
And seeing what Morton Whitepass did yesterday is exactly why they're the favorite. I mean, it's basically you put Jake Kinnear on that team, and I mean, yesterday they played a decent Tootle team that obviously, I mean, Zach Swanson is probably the best scorer in the league, but you have a game where
Tootle Lake a sleeper for the district finals.
Some people are, and then you watch MWP take them on, and you get Jake Kinnear scoring 21 on the perimeter and Josh Salguero scoring 17 inside, and it's just
how do you stop them?
How do you stop that? It's basically, and they also Judah Kelly had a good game on the perimeter, and you got Jace Peters inside.
Hunter Hazen's come back this year.
Hunter
is putting up over 20 a game right now.
Yep, he's inside. It's like either the perimeter is opening up the post or the post is opening up the perimeter, and both of them are always on now.
All right, Morton Whitepass, the favorite. Dark horse team out of the C2BL.
Well, you want to talk about someone.
I like Tootle Lake. I think they're going to get better as the season goes on, and they've got maybe the best scorer in the league. It's pretty promising.
Yeah, could be. Name another player on the team.
I can't. Is there a Cox kid?
Yeah,
there is a Cox kid. I mean, I don't know if it's really a dark horse, but I think Napavine, I think they're my pick to finish second.
Okay.
I'd probably say the same.
It's the Kalama last year rule of kids that play football are tough and they know how to win games.
All right. I don't know that Napavine has do they have the go-to guy that Kalama had last year though? Is it Gross?
Gross is good. I think, and Gross as a sophomore last year was taking on Essery in those Kalama games they played, was guarding Gross all game long. Okay. And he still managed to put, 15, 20 points. So he's a scorer. I think the question for Napavine is, what do they do now that they don't have Keith Olson, and their offense last year was just throw it to Keith Olson in the post and go from there?
Yeah.
Not that was solely it, but that was a big part of it. So it'll be interesting to see. Carson Donald was a guy who didn't play for them at all last year, like the football team, and I presume will probably be pretty good at basketball.
I think he will too.
So I think Napavine would probably be my pick to challenge Morton Whitepass as well. I think if I were to pick a sleeper, it'd be tough because I do think that the Central 2B is a little top heavy as well.
How were the Meldrums yesterday?
The Meldrum triplets. The Rainier Meldrum.
They got triplets?
Yeah. Get ready for their names. Josh, Jake, and Jimmy.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, just amazing. Anyway, they look pretty good against Winlock. They're undersized. They don't have a guy above 6'2", so it's hard to think that they'll contend. I think Adna always has a shot. I know they kind of get into those big games and it doesn't look great because the shooting kind of goes away and when you get out rebounded and turn the ball over, you lose. But they bring back everyone from last year other than Chase Collins, so they're experienced. I think Braden Salmi is the best scorer in the league. I think he's a better scorer than Swanson.
There's a take.
That's a hot take. That was a hot take.
I just think he's got more around him than I think Zach Swanson has.
That's not a hot take.
But that's what I'm saying. Like if you put Salmi on a team with no one, he's dropping 30 a game easy. He's a stud. It's fun watching him play. So that'll be a fun matchup when Tootle and Adna play each other. I think that'll be sort of a indicator for maybe who's ahead, who's in that kind of next tier. But other than that, it's a bunch of teams that are kind of still trying to figure out what their identity is. Toledo, obviously, it has a bunch of freshmen they're playing. They still have Connor Olmstead and Caven Winters. And then, Rainier, they got the three Meldrums, but, everyone else hasn't played that much hoops. So it'll sort of be interesting to see how it kind of shakes out. But I do think that Morton White Pass and Napavine and maybe Adna and Tudor Lake are kind of in that tier. And again, Kalama too, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, they replaced pretty much their entire lineup and the player of the year in Jackson Essery. So
yeah.
But you never really can discount the Chinooks at any point during the year. So,
all right, the 1Bs. Any bright spots there? I know you guys are awfully high on one team.
You just hate Oakville. Just say you hate Oakville.
I don't hate Oakville. I remember when Oakville had a phenomenal team like 12, 13 years ago.
Marcus Whitaker's done an amazing job for that program.
Yeah, he has.
I mean, he's turned around. Obviously Oakville's been on tough times in a lot of their sports, but what they did last year in his first year, making it to the regional round of state, and what they've done in the early portion this year, they've beaten 3A River Ridge, beaten 2A Centralia.
Without two of their best players.
Without two of their best players. They've just been really good. And I think like anytime you have a guy like Eddie Klatouche who can drop 50, and hit a three from pretty much anywhere on the floor in a 1B on a 1B team, I mean, he alone could take a team pretty far. So you also add in, Daniel Rodas or Ashton Boyd, who hasn't played for them this year, and it's just like a huge 6'3", 6'4" body. Courtney Price is really good. I think they're legit. It's just a matter of, again, for a team that hasn't won a lot lately, teaching this team how to win those games, how to win that regional game, how to beat a team like Mossy Rock or Willapa Valley that's had a lot of success in the past. That's going to be the key for them.
Well, they're not playing in they're playing in definitely the 1B Coastal, so they're not playing Mossy, they're not playing Nacelle, so there's not going to be as much of those tests.
They'll win that league easily. This upcoming, but they schedule the bigger schools. They've got Adna coming up, they got Lesha coming up, so these next couple of weeks are going to be big for them.
I think Mossy Rock's going to be a lot of fun this year. They're going to be an interesting team for sure. New coaching staff, Tom Kelly's on there.
Yeah.
His first time coaching a high school boys team. He's had plenty of success on the girls' side. He runs a very specific style. And I think he's got Kelly Ross helping him out.
Yep.
Kelly was their head coach when Mossy Rock took second in state a couple years ago. I think those two will work well together. Tom's kind of the energy guy, and Kelly's a pretty good details guy. I think Mossy Rock's going to be pretty good this year.
And they have the athletes. They proved during... obviously the football season didn't end how they wanted it to, but getting that confidence from beating Nacelle, from finishing the season undefeated and all those other sorts of things, proving that they can, compete. And again, anytime you have Keegan Kolb, Easton Kolb, Zach Munoz has been terrific for them. They definitely have the pieces too. It's just, again, can you beat Willapa Valley? Can you beat Nacelle? Can you keep up with those teams? They definitely play in the tougher league than Oakville. So like where Oakville will, I put a whole bunch of money on them winning the 1B Coastal. That's fair. They get a bye all the way up until the semifinals. for the district tournament. So they only need to win one game to qualify for the regional round of state, where Mossy Rock, if you finish behind Nacelle and Willapa Valley, you have to kind of play your way into it and kind of fight, through a couple rounds to get there. So,
and that's definitely the difference between football and basketball is there's that third good team. It's not just, Mossy Rock beats Nacelle and there's the league title.
Yeah. Right.
Like Valley is good. Valley might be the favorites in that league. Honestly, Nacelle's won it the past couple of years, I think, but Valley might be every bit as good, if not better.
All right, moving on to the girls' side.
Well, we gotta mention PL.
Oh yeah, how's PL?
PL looks pretty good.
Who's coaching PL?
Chris? Yeah, Chris Phelps.
Okay.
His son's on the team. They got Blake Howard out there. They're starting a couple freshmen, but they look pretty good. They lost their first game to Winlock. But then they won the other night by like 40 against Three Rivers Christian at Longview isn't very good, but
yeah.
I think they're going to get a bunch of confidence from how far their football team made it, combined with Willapa Valley, and they could be improved this year too. They're playing Valley on a really early rivalry game. They're playing them on Friday.
Okay.
In a doubleheader. I might head out there.
All right.
Catch a little rivalry.
Yeah.
Even though it's like way too friendly.
Well, during football season, we'll see basketball season.
Oh, yeah. Blake Howard's just he hates Colton Fluke.
Yeah.
He's like, this guy's been handing me the ball off, and, we've been practicing football for months. I hate this guy's guts.
It's just like, December 1st rolls around.
Yeah, just wait for basketball season. No, those guys like each other.
All right, in the girls' side, 2A Evco, Tumwater or WF West, who's the favorite?
Probably WF West.
Tough to answer, honestly, for me. I think WF West is replacing a lot. I mean, they're replacing a huge senior class. Obviously, they're a program. It's established. Karnofsky's got him doing exactly what he wants him to do. But they don't have really a go-to perimeter player yet, I think. Julia Dalen's been terrific in the early course of the year. She scored 29 points and 20 points. But other than that, it's, I think Morgan Rogerson's been pretty steady for them, but having sort of a consistent shooter will have that team get over the top, and they're just going to have to learn. Carly Deskin's getting minutes. It'll be interesting to see how they sort of grow. They've been around the program, but they haven't been in these roles yet. Where Tumwater returns, Kylie Waltemeyer, who was coming off the bench on last year's team, and it might be the Player of the Year favorite. Reagan Brewer is there. She also came off the bench, and they have a point guard there. So, and it's Tumwater, so they replace. They've got people waiting in the wings. So
yeah, and they've got two pretty good wins. They've basically just been living in Clark County or playing Clark County teams. They beat a pretty good Hawkinson side to open by what was the final score of that game? 56-13.
Yeah,
pretty good.
And then they beat Washougal by 20.
And Washougal is not quite the same now that half of their starting lineup is now playing for Idaho, but
it'll come down to those two teams. I do think this year those games will be closer than they were last year. Tumwater kind of had their way with Chehalis.
Yeah.
But I think, and again, it's a steep drop past those two.
Past those two. I think Centralia could fill that third spot. Watching a couple of their games early, they've got a lot to figure out. Michaela Chavez is a bucket. She's running point for them. She's shooting for them. She's basically, anytime she's not scoring, she's probably assisting on it. She's playing at the top of that defense and jumping 5 or 6 passes a game. I've been really impressed by her early. They've got Emily Wilkerson coming back in the post, and they have Gracie Klein in the post, who she has been out the past 2 seasons with foot injuries, they told me. So she's back. She played her freshman year and she's back, and that's kind of providing a boost. They definitely need to figure out kind of what's going on around Chavez, but I think if they can figure that out, they've got the ball handler and the scorer to take them places.
All right. 1A's. Who's the favorite there? Tenino had a pretty good year last year. It's
going to be tough for them this year.
No Ashley
and
Scow.
Everybody laughed.
No Ashley Scow and no pretty much everyone else from the starting lineup. So they lost a game the other night by 60 to Seton Catholic.
Right. Is Montesano the favorite in that league?
Probably. Montesano just beat Napavine the other day. Napavine, we'll get into by 6-5-ish.
5, yeah. That was a good game. The Napavine tied them through 3.
Yeah, and Napavine is going to be a really steady 2B team, so that kind of gave us a little bit barometer of where Montesano's at. They graduated Paige Leisherness.
Yeah.
But they still have...
They've got 2 Dalins.
They have 2 Dalins.
Mm-hmm.
I think cousins.
McKinley and Evangeli, and both of them are just journeys of how you spell those names.
All right.
So yeah, they're probably definitely the favorites, but it'll be a growing year for Tenino. They're really young, and again, they replaced pretty much every single contributor from last year's team. So Scott Ashmore's got his work cut out for him.
The C2BL, who is the favorite?
That's tough. It's got to be Adna, right?
Who won it last year?
It was Wakayakum, but I don't. And Wakayakum still has
Ray Niemeyer.
Yep, and Niemela, right?
No, I don't remember if
I saw Niemela. It might be the brother on the boys' side.
There's
no Avalons, I know.
I mean, last year Wakayakum won the league playing 7 girls, which was impressive, and I think most of them are back. But yeah, no, it's a tough one.
It's tough. I think Adna's good. They pretty much bring back everybody. Carly Von Moose is a player of the year candidate. Brooklyn Luce can hit, a lot of threes. They return
Gabby
a couple.
Guard dropped 20 in her varsity debut.
Yep. So they've got pieces, and Banish is gonna, they'll be just fine. Rainier is intriguing. They graduated Faith Besh, who was just a supreme 3-point shooter, but bring back Bryn Beckman, who was one of the best posts in the league, and they got a transfer from Yelm, and Angelica Askey. It's Askey, maybe just Askey. I don't know.
Okay.
I think she was a double figure scorer for Yelm. So anytime you bring in a double figure scorer from a 3A team, you'd probably expect them to be pretty good at the 2B level.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. I want to shout out Brooklyn Sandridge. She told me she was a listener of the podcast. So
that's nice of her.
Maybe we can mention Ani. They're replacing a lot. She's the lone senior on that team. But they'll be sort of interesting to see how they adjust too, where she was kind of the leader of the soccer team that also was kind of in the midst of a rebuild, and she took them pretty far. So that'll be interesting. And then Napavine is a team that had the lead against Mossy Rock and probably should have won that game, but fell.
Played Monty close. Beat Raymond, and Raymond was the Pacific champ last year. Obviously, Raymond doesn't have Kira Gardner anymore.
Obviously.
Got to mention Kira Gardner.
Yeah, Alec, how good was Kira Gardner last year?
Oh, she was so good last year. I think she's playing.
Come on, we got places to be.
Right. She was playing consistent minutes for Wazoo. That's all I got to mention.
I do think that is the story, going to be the second half of the story for girls basketball. I mean, last year you look at it, and was that the only sport where the 2 district finalists both came from the Pacific? Because it was Raymond versus Leshai.
Yeah.
And then you fast forward, Wakayakum's the Central 2B defending champs. They lost to Waco to start the season. So there's still, I think, that power vacuum. It's not skewed to the Central like most sports are.
Yeah.
And obviously Raymond's replacing a lot. I think Leshai brings back most of their scoring. But
I think it's wide open.
Up in the air.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. 1Bs. We got anybody to look out for?
Mossy Rock.
Mossy's decent.
Okay. Mossy finished 6th at state a year ago. They bring back everyone. So odds are they'll be pretty dang good again.
Remember their volleyball team? It's their basketball team.
Yeah. I think PL has a girls team once again after they didn't have one last year.
Charlie Carper's back, and Dave
Charlie
Tingle's
Carper
coaching.
is averaging like 30 points, like 15 rebounds, and like 20 steals a game. It's unreal.
Oh, nice.
So it's cool that they have a team against, and yeah, Dave's coaching them. So, regardless of, where they finish or whatever, having the off year to be able to field a team. Freshman Peyton Zock had 25 rebounds yesterday for them.
That's a lot of rebounds.
Which is terrific. So, cool for PL, and that's kind of I think Valley's pretty good. Nacel's pretty good in that league. So it'll be interesting to see. I think Mossy Rock will probably run through that league pretty easily. maybe other than a slip up. They had a slip up to, I think, Valley last year.
Yeah.
And didn't win the district title. But Mussy's still pretty good.
All right, this podcast brought to you by AmeriCool Heating and Cooling. Alec, have you ever felt yourself being too hot or too cold?
Yes.
You should have called AmeriCool Heating and Cooling. They have a 24/7.
I thought you called a friend first.
You got a what?
You call a friend first, I thought.
Well, I mean, yeah, you can call a friend first, or you can call a friend to come wait for you.
AmeriCool.
Wait with you.
They are our friends.
They are our friends.
They're the friend to call.
You can call their 24/7 emergency service line, 360-273-3300, or you can visit west.americoolonline.com and read all about them. Your comfort is their business. And they offer a 100% satisfaction guarantee with everything they do, whether they're there to make you too hot or too cold.
Just like this podcast.
Exactly.
Everyone listening to this, you are 100% guaranteed satisfaction.
If you don't like it, delete it, re-download it, listen to it again.
Rethink your life choices.
Yeah. And then don't leave us a review. What's on tap this week? Thursday, that's tomorrow. Toledo at Morton White Pass boys. Is that a big one?
I think Jake Kinnear is going to drop like 50 on him probably. I think there's some interesting stuff going on.
He is a former
there.
Toledo boy.
Former Toledo guy, so he's going to be motivated to get that done. That's in Randall.
Oh, what a drive.
I know.
Is it snowing out there?
I don't know. Maybe. There's probably snow on the ground.
Maybe.
I'm going to... When is this dropping tomorrow?
This will drop Wednesday night. Late.
Okay. Oh, okay. So yeah, to Wednesday night, tonight, I am going to... where am I going? Rainier Adna girls basketball.
All right.
Which, like we just talked about, will be a really interesting matchup to see, who's kind of in that upper echelon of the C2B.
Friday night, Napavine at Tudor Lake girls. Two good young C2BL teams.
Could be.
Okay.
Yeah, Tudor Lake was like starting at least 2 8th graders last year, and it sounds like they've been winning some games early. So yeah.
Saturday, Winlock and Napavine boys. Napavine season opener. They're playing against Winlock, coached by former Napavine boy himself, Cole Dowdy.
Yeah, and here's this name playing every single minute for Winlock this year. Landon Klein, 8th grader.
Oh yeah, okay.
And he's got handles. He plays a little bit too fast. I watched him last night. You kind of tell his eyes are wide open, but he's not afraid of the moment or taking a big shot and breaking a full court press. So it's kind of cool to see little Klein out there.
Right.
They got another patching too, right?
Freddie Patching.
Freddie.
He looked pretty good too. They're young. They're really young.
Okay. Monday night, Oakville at Chief Leschi boys. Should be a high-scoring affair.
It will be interesting.
Also,
Two
Nacelle.
teams that shoot a lot.
Also, Nacelle at Mossy Rock girls. Always fun when those two meet up.
Oh, yeah.
And then Tuesday night, a couple big games. White River at WF West girls basketball and Tudor Lake at Adna boys basketball. That could be fun.
Tudor Lake at Adna next Tuesday? Oh, we got to be there.
Yeah, you should be there.
Like I said, that'll be a big matchup. I'm going to Adna Oakville.
When is that?
That is at a really bad time. It's like the 27th, yeah, which sucks. But it's going to be awesome.
All right.
There's going to be like 1,000 threes.
It's going to be so many shots.
It's going to be terrific.
Other news, there is some all-area stuff happening. All-area girls soccer drops Thursday. Is that online yet?
It's not online yet. It'll be online tomorrow.
And then volleyball drops Saturday?
Yes, and I plan to drop it online on Saturday as well.
All right.
And then we're fishing through the football stuff throughout this week. So still trying to decide. We're still trying to decide on an MVP. It's that close.
If you have an opinion on who should be the all-area MVP,
don't listen to Josh.
Aaron.
No.
Tweet at Josh and or Alec.
No.
DM them some hot pics of yourself being either too hot or too cool inside a global septic sanitation station.
With an Elam's couch.
Whilst sitting on an Elam's Home Furnishings couch.
And leave us a 5-star review.
Yeah, if you do all of those things, your opinion will be considered.
But last year was so easy. Takari Hickle was kind of the definite, surefire, oh yeah, this is easily the best football. Well, maybe not easily, but for sure.
He was kind of head and shoulders above everybody else.
Yeah, I think Keith Olson might have deserved a little more attention than we probably gave him during that process. But after everything Tenino did that year, he was sort of obvious. So this year, it's much closer. There isn't really a clear-cut number one.
All right, we're going to wrap it up there. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back next week to talk about sports and things.